And they're wonderful. Oh my God, they're so good.
It's got.
It's like King Lear when it's cheap. Oh, yeah.
They're good to go whenever.
Oh, well, thank you.
We hit fire.
All right.
Yeah, no, good.
King Lear, and she was tremendous. Like, I'd like to see them do a Richard II, like, I'd like to see some of Shakespeare's, you know, darker plays.
If they have a different solution, but it can't. Solutions.
But yeah, I would say I'm gonna take it. I didn't like the other offers, so I have like seasons, but I would. I know. I do want to see the Barboursville, and they have tried to really.
Well,
for a small tiny theater, their musicians are wonderful, and they attract a lot of talent.
When people.
And it's
I'm not
just
worried
fun to
about
do
that.
that.
So.
Oh, no, this is a story.
I guess we go.
Yeah, louder than
Oh, no, they still have all the paintings on the walls, and all the sets, especially on the fly. It's really
What do you say?
There's nothing, yeah, in the.
Oh, it's German.
I kept kicking the email and it said, it could almost just.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as that goes.
Check out the graveyard.
We're about to be like, round.
Right, they're everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So how is with that?
After they go first, then we go.
Yeah, my friend.
So when they're done,
10 years
we
ago.
go. And then we can.
Before you are able to present, you have to make yourself a panelist, so you should.
Well, hello, I would like to welcome everybody to the work session for the city of Idaho Springs. This is for March 10th, 2025, and for the work session, we just have three things, and we're going to kick it off with the new police station update. And we have the chief here that's going to kick this one off for us. And
Sure.
I'm happy to say we've got the contractor and architects with us today, so.
Yeah.
Should be very.
I'll do a quick introduction of everybody. So Kevin Lowney is with WEO Neal. So he's the one that's helping us up with the cost estimation for the project. Jan Delaney, the lead architect who's been here before, and Ted Halsey, who's an architect who's been here before, and a person who I worked with on a prior project before coming to Idaho Springs. So here we are. So if you had the chance to read the memo that I had put for the packet, it kind of did a quick brief history of purchasing the building in 2023, going through a process that we thought we were going to bring on, first bring on the architect team. We were able to apply for the grant. We were awarded $1 million grant from DOLA, which obviously took time to go through that process. Then once that happened, we went through an RFQ process to bring on a CMGC, construction manager, general contractor. The idea being that we would have their expertise work directly with the architect team so that we didn't design or want to do reconstruction of the building and then be completely over what we originally were trying to hit as far as the budget. So with Kevin's expertise and us working through the design process, we did see that the budget came in high. I mean, higher than what we were shooting for. So that original number was around 3.5 million. And so we went back to the drawing board and said, that's just too high. What can we take out of this project? So there were a number of things that immediately came off the chopping block, which were like a backup generator system. It's not something that we have to have. I mean, we can figure out other alternatives. There were other things that affected that were discovered. The fire line, or the access to the fire line that we would run a sprinkler system, that there was a discovery there. There were other things that were removed. One of the concerns we had was that the public's coming in through the north side of the building. And as we all know, north side of parking lots around Idaho Springs to be kind of sketchy as far as ice. So we did have an ice melt system that was built in, but it's expensive. So that was another thing that was taken out. So there were a number of things that we were looking at trying to do to really shave off the costs. Ultimately, what's before you, we have the options that we put together that will bring us down closer to what the original budget was. And so what we're looking for, I'll turn it over to you guys to speak a little bit about it, is when you have the existing building and you look at it, if you go in there, it's built like a bank. I mean, it's very open. And so we're building a lot of walls inside the building. And I think that's one of the things that certainly impacts it. And we're building a number of these walls are going to go to the ceiling, which is 12 feet, something like that. It's very tall ceiling because it used to be a garage or whatnot before. So there's added things coming into play. There are certain things that, you know, one of the ones that for me is a non-negotiable was having a training room, because I know Danielle took a picture the other day. We had our officers there for a training because we're doing a new reporting system for car crashes. And it's a little humorous when we're sitting around this little space PD and not have a place to actually properly train. So with that, I might turn it over to Ted to say a few things about where we've been and what we need from council.
Nicely sets the stage. So sorry, I'm Ted Halsey. Maybe somebody that's here at the table will remember me from when we started this project, Mayor, certainly Andy. So my specialty is in justice design, and I'm supporting now Dan. We brought Dan on board as the prime architect. And we put a package together that came out last March, almost a year ago. And we budgeted based on mostly just dealing with the interior of the building. I think the chief set the stage pretty nicely. If you can see on the monitor on your first page, the existing diagram shows the exterior walls as they stand. As you know, the carport drive-through on the west side, but notice the lack of density, a lot of white in that space. And one of the things that I did first on was to create a program working with chief and all of the staff to come up with the actual user needs within the space. And we found that the shell really wasn't big enough to put everything in there with future growth included. So the option A that you see on your in your packet is where we really kind of started to get the entire program to fit, but it didn't include some of the major elements that were needed. But if you'll notice, look at the density, the change in the way that drawing reads. You'll see, again, they're not just little office type walls, substantial walls, in some cases for security. Other cases, if the community room is being used by the police, we want training to go on in there. And we've talked about sometimes it gets a little rough, or so to speak, the agility training, you might fall into a wall, possibly. So we want the wall to be capable of taking a certain amount of impact. But if the community is in there and on the other side of the wall is the area for the officers, we don't want any sound transmission to hear what's going on. So anyway, the walls are above and beyond what you'd normally do. Option A, we had to build out the east side to increase the conference room to give enough room for the number of people that would be in it, and ADA clearance in the lobby to enter. We got this pulled out to accommodate. And then for the chief's office, in order to have a separate private office, we had to build out the court. That's what you see on option A, which gets us very close, and we'll talk about that a little more in detail, to the original budget. Option B, what you're looking at, the purple grape colored area added to the left side of the drawing, that's where we've added an entire bay. We tear off the teller windows and build out a new bay, and we tear off the entire drive-through canopy. It's just gone in this option. And where it currently stands, we have to tear up the old pavement and get rid of the old foundations. But we did not include then the vehicle sally port as a major part of the programming list. But this helped to get us kind of in between the highest number and the lowest number. So this is an in-between, still not a full program. Option C is the diagram that does show the full build out with the vehicle sally port. The same is true in the amount of tear off on that west side, but now we build this, well, it's really like a high-tech garage. It'll have cameras in this garage, separately heated and ventilated, capable, if you will, of bringing in custody into the space. They're not being unloaded outside the building. If someone's in handcuffs and they're getting out of the vehicle outside the building, you're going to see who it is. It's actually a better way to live, if you will, if that can happen indoors, but cameras will be there to take any kind of recording of what's going on so that there's no claim of some foul activity. So this builds it out, and it literally tears up all the pavement out there and builds a new sloped surface, if you will, and central drainage area that gets rid of the standing water, if any of you have noticed how much there is out there now. So this one has the greatest amount of pavement in the package, but without the snow melt, as we mentioned earlier. Kind of last thing I want to bring up that you don't have in your package this afternoon, that we were kind of talking about this. The building section on top that you're looking at is the building as it stands. And what happened, if you can see my cursor, is that visible? That's the original service station, and its flat roof, as Nate pointed out, and Chief pointed out, about 12 feet high. In 2006, the bank at the time came in and put this big truss system and just stood it up on top of the walls. And then, as you know, it sort of turns and takes like an L shape toward the east and build this big structure out there. So all of this structural element system is connected back to the original building, and these trusses bear on top of it. And they just blew in a bunch of insulation in the old roof, and they put the mechanical systems up here. So your furnace is up there. But we also know that in the walls, what we've more recently discovered, a lot of them are not, some of them are not insulated. A lot of them are under insulated. And there's even a place here, if you will, where there's no insulation between walls and roof. We've discovered that since W.E. O'Neill's come on board. They've all gone up there. And in fact, Kevin has been out there with larger implements to tear out drywall and try to determine what's there. So we now are picking up additional costs to deal with the insulation in those walls, but we aren't going to do anything in taking off the old siding or re-roofing. We're going to leave that alone. By code, it's not required, and not by DOLA, Department of Local Affairs, and Green Globes, which is all about our energy and environmental issues and things we want to satisfy DOLA. So we're backing away from doing anything more to the exterior other than building on these elements you see in purple. Where those are built, we will tear out exterior wall as needed. And whenever you do that, you have to bring that up to code. So we do know that we're going to have to bring that insulation and the values and the construction for that, which includes exterior insulation as well. We will replace that. So those numbers have been part of what takes us up. And this section just helps you to see that what's in purple that you saw in the plan drawing. The purple shows you in section what's also being added, just area wise, but we've got to treat this entire existing truss area with the latest, if you will, in insulation requirements. Of course, it'll pay dividends. It'll make the energy efficiency much higher. You will get that eventually paid back. We also looked at a photovoltaic or PV solar system for electrical generation, currently shown on the roof of the new addition. If we don't build the new addition out here, then we're going to be looking at putting the photovoltaic panels on the existing metal roof. And we've got a general number for the cost to do that, but we have to come back and check the structural systems as well. And the PV system that we've looked at and talked with an actual installer, integrator, they would prefer that we put it on the existing roof for greater solar harvesting. So with that, I'd like to, I think, just direct it back over to Kevin. If there's no questions about design, we could address a little bit about cost, et cetera.
And I'm sorry, I do have a question about the design. The new green standard, am I off? It's adding like $800,000 or $900,000. Am I in the ballpark? Do we know?
I don't think so. I don't think it's adding 800 or 900. There are pieces and components in there that if we tried to break it out, which we've not broken it out specifically. It's generally going to be the photovoltaic system, which is nowhere near that amount of money.
Yeah, I agree.
Bringing all those exterior walls where we have to intervene, bringing those up to code. I'm trying to field your question and say, it's certainly not in that order of magnitude. It is going to add some cost. Some of it in just the process of design, you have to document what you design, what you're putting into it. During construction, we'll be looking at what materials we take out of the building. Are some materials repurposed? Can we reuse them? Instead of just taking it to a landfill, trying to repurpose some of those materials, they have to sort and select. There are costs to the construction process that will increase the cost, but certainly, Mayor, not to that order of magnitude.
Also, I think it's important to keep in mind, it wasn't really mentioned. I mean, I know that, and Kevin can speak to that as far as contingency monies. I mean, there's contingency monies that are part of this estimation, of course, that if we uncover something further, some other issue or there's tariffs, should I say, that could affect things. It's just something we're trying to be proactive. It's just some of that is a little bit unpredictable.
Yeah, I mean, to Chief's point regarding tariffs, we've got a budget for it right now. We're carrying a 3% budget against the overall cost to try and offset escalation. What that escalation is, when that escalation is going to occur, anyone's guess. We're getting emails, letters from manufacturers on a daily basis letting us know they're aware of tariffs, maybe coming. They don't know what the impact's going to be, when that impact's going to occur, what it's going to do to the supply chain, et cetera. So right now, at this level of design, we felt it was prudent. We'll include some monies in there, do our best to offset any of that future, if any, increase in construction costs we see. We went through this a couple of years ago during COVID, where construction costs things got out of control. Manufacturers couldn't keep up, things were getting shut down, backlogs. We're trying to stay ahead of that by, if we have some money to offset that, maybe we can get, right or wrong, we can try and move to the front of the line. That was a thing going on during the COVID years where people with more money, i.e. Amazon, was paying to expedite and they were jumping to the front of the line on construction projects. And then by the time it trickled back to us, your material is now 22 weeks out. So, but also at this stage, we are carrying contingency monies at 5% for design. As we get closer to finalizing the number, we can reduce that, and then we will have a construction contingency of 5% to help offset any in-field changes. If we open up a wall and find out there's no insulation, or if the brick masonry is failing, things of that nature that we currently can't see, we'll have some costs there to help offset that and not have to come to the table with, a need for additional funding.
One of the things that I just wanted to make sure, and then I know there are probably further questions, so certainly feel free to interrupt, but for us, when I talked to council initially about this project and maybe changing some processes, if we go with option A, those processes will not change. And what I'm referring to is these low-level arrests where somebody has they fail to appear for court. Now we have to process them. We actually drive to Georgetown. If we have an arrest for even a DUI, a first-time offender, they're cooperative, we'll still have to drive to Georgetown. So option A really eliminates some of those process changes that I was trying to get towards for the future of the agency long after I'm gone.
Why is that?
Because number one, you're vacating the city of a police officer by driving to Georgetown.
Oh, why did this design not allow for that concept?
There's not enough space.
It won't have like the temporary holding.
It wouldn't have the space for a breathalyzer machine, fingerprint machine, and then also a temporary holding area. It wouldn't, I would have to sort of redesign the whole thing if we're gonna try to do that and fit it into option A. The other thing to keep in mind is, typically 4 to 6 times a year, I'm estimating, our officers encounter situations where we have to tow a vehicle and apply for a search warrant. And currently, the process is either we take that to the county shops or somebody could easily climb over the fence and access it. We put tape on it so that we know if somebody's entered it. But best practices are you have a secure structure. And so certainly having an actual Sally Port garage would create that for us. Again, that's really just best practices. But so I just want to make sure that I share that. I mean, if the city were to decide to the best they can do, I would recommend at minimum option B. Where we lose the Sally Port, but we still create this other opportunity for processes to happen for people, and instead of having our officers driving up and down I-70. I mean, when you have road conditions, you have crashes, you have all kinds of things that happen when, as we all know, when you go out there, you don't know what's gonna happen. So it's just I think it would help the agency in the future. Certainly I would recommend option C, just because it's gonna create the building you want long into the future. And Andy had mentioned to me, and put Andy on the spot, he had talked with DOLA about potentially applying for another $200,000 grant. It's basically the same grant, but the level would be lower. And apparently it sounds like they would be open to that we could do that. And obviously it's still an application process, but I just want to throw that out there.
Well, my initial approach was to see if we could apply for another grant, which would be 200,000, above and beyond the million that we got. It's there's a tier 1 and a tier 2 grant levels. Tier 2 is $1 million and tier 1 is 200,000. When I spoke with our regional manager for DOLA, he said that really wouldn't be the way to go about it, that the process would be a supplemental appropriation or a request under the current grant that we receive. And we are eligible to ask for up to half of the grant award we receive, which would be 500,000. Now, money is tight. Even the energy impact fund, which is designed for communities like Idaho Springs, that fund is being part of some of that fund money is being used for other needs in the state government. Everybody's heard about the shortfall with the state budget. So even a fund like that that's designated for energy impacted communities is being impacted. So the good news is that there is a process. If you run into cost overruns, and we'd have to justify it, of course, we'd have to document it with help from the architect and the contractor. I haven't seen the application yet for the supplemental appropriation, but as soon as we get that, we'll work on that and see what might be possible. So it's not a guarantee. It's not going to get us all the way to where we need to go for the potential of the full cost, at least what we are seeing right at the moment, but it would be a huge help. And this project is already scheduled to carry over partway into 26 next year, even if we start this summer. So, and we can budget additional funds next year if that's council's desire. So that's encouraging to me. We are cautioned that, it might be hard getting the full 500,000 from DOLA and additional funding, but we were also said, go for it. So that's that, and then the other possibility is, there may be either a partial or, well, I'll say some type of exemption for some of the energy requirements, the green load requirements. And I think we all agree that energy efficiency and trying to have a building that will be, lowers our costs and is more energy efficient is a good thing. But this type of project, we may be able to, we may be eligible for some type of partial or full exemption for the green load requirements. Don't know that for sure, but he mentioned that as well. Our regional director mentioned that as well. So we're going to pursue that avenue as well, see if maybe there are parts of this that can, so we're trying to find additional funding. I guess the takeaway from this, we're trying to find additional funding that might be possible. We're also trying to see if there's some other ways to lower our costs as well. And of course, the team here is doing their best to come up with a couple different options for council. And we just wanted you all to know kind of where we are and that, there are some options. We really would like to hold out for the full option C. So we're going to do everything we can to see if we can find ways to make up that difference. So we're really checking in with you now, not asking necessarily for a decision, but I think our plan would be that we report back to council in the very near future as to what we've been able to come up with.
I think one of the things to mention is that we are like, we're kind of, I guess what I would say, knee deep in design and trying to come up with costs. So, I know it's not necessarily a formal decision by council.
We do need some direction.
But it would be good to have direction because it's trying to be designed and everyone's sort of like on standby until that there is some direction on that.
Oh, Lisa.
With the Sally Port, is it possible, because I'm listening to what you're saying about funding, is it possible that the Sally Port and the solar that would go on the Sally Port, can that be a last piece of construction? Like, can we move forward with the rest of construction?
Could it be phased?
Like, could it be phased so that if that totally falls on its face, we're not left with a bill that maybe we really have to struggle for? Because that creates problems with everyone.
I would answer yes. That is the rationale behind the three options. We would build out B and only tear out and replace pavement there where you see the gray area. Because of the problems right now with standing water and so on, we've at least improved that. Plus we have to tear out, when we tear off the old drive through the columns and so on, their footings and whatnot, we would just get rid of that. So the answer is yes, that could be done.
At a different date, a future date?
Yes.
Well, there'd be staging costs and all that if you.
I know, that's, my concern is if we go, yay, option C, and then we don't get $500,000, that leaves us, we were budgeting 2.5 million. So we budgeted for that 2.5 million. That leaves us 600,000 plus that we have not planned for. So I'm just looking at, like, I know there's staging costs. Like, if you could do everything all at once, it's a lot less expensive, but I'm looking at how do we not get left with a $600,000 bag and nothing to pay for it.
Right. That was my question too.
Yeah.
But there's also inflationary costs.
Oh my God.
2 years down the road,
Yeah,
it's gonna cost you more.
I would tell you that, I understand exactly what you're saying, but living this on other projects, it doesn't get cheaper in the future.
Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah, we all believe, everyone knows the climate, or climate euphemistically, but we would have to build, just to finish that, we would have to build out though a wall that becomes exterior. If you see where the little hand is. So when you don't build the garage portion, then we have to turn that into an exterior wall for weatherproofing. And it doesn't want to look temporary, if you will. So, well, I think there's some money in there with the option B to cover that.
There is for sure. Trying to look at this best way we can. I would tell you that, yes, we're dealing with the threat of tariffs and rising construction costs. I'd also tell you that I'm seeing a softening of the subcontractor market. A lot of projects that were slated to start haven't started because of interest rates, construction costs, et cetera. There are a fair amount of subcontractors that are, for lack of a better term, kind of twiddling their thumbs, and I've seen guys turning in aggressive pricing, especially on projects that have a quicker trigger. I think a lot of these guys
Makes sense.
kind of looked at their backlog and realized that that big project they banked on not starting, and now they're scrambling.
In our numbers, Kevin, our goal here to present to you are numbers that we think we won't exceed. You know, will it come in lower and save money? Well, things like Kevin's mentioning, maybe, but we think plan for the worst, hope for the best, that these numbers would get us through the project.
Janine, your thoughts?
Yeah, just a thought about the training room. I know this isn't ideal. It just seems to be one of the bigger spaces. Like, I don't know, since you're gonna be across the street, could you come use this place or like the health and wellness center for training, which are both in walking distance? Does that do anything to, I don't know. I just was thinking about other, because I know right now where you are, you're so far from any other space, but I know it would be ideal to have it, but it was just a thought.
I understand. I think that what I would be envisioning is applying for a grant to get, an actual, training setup that would be permanently like on the wall, where you can do scenario-based training, and also having mats in the space where you could fold up and have those stored either in the garage or off to the side where you can have mats to actually do custody and control training. So there's certain things, if we're just watching a TV, I mean, I guess we could come here. But when you're actually doing scenario-based things where you're going hands-on with each other, becomes a little more problematic, with, I guess, council chambers or other places. So the other thing is some, well, I don't have to give further detail. I think that, some of the training that we do also, it's the sergeant grabbing the midnight officer before he or she goes home. And doing something sort of for a half hour before the person leaves. And to having that it's transformative as far as the way that you're building the culture of the agency. The other thing that I'd really like to do is host trainings, meaning have people that typically would pay to go to. Normally, if you host something, they'll offer you 3, 4, 5 free spots for your agency to attend while everyone else pays $300, $400, $500 a head to send people. So that doesn't exist in Clear Creek County. I mean, we have the fire training facility, which is good. I think that modern police departments, they do have that. They do have an option to have that. But I see what you're saying.
Jeremy, your thoughts?
I think this is interesting. The concept of like a Sally Port is a big deal. If the county pursues out of county housing of inmates, there's gonna be a negative effect to the officers in Idaho Springs by having to go to Jeffco, no matter how we do it, right? And while I understand it's say plus 600,000 approximately over the budget to do it, worst case scenario. I think long term it makes sense because there's too many unknowns right now with what the county's gonna do with whether they house inmates or choose not to house inmates and all that stuff. It's gonna one way or another adversely affect the agency. And I would rather spend a little bit of money, find a way to spend money to be more efficient and leave officers in the community than have them be stuck in I-70 traffic because they're transporting DUI different.
Thank you. Scott?
Yeah, I got a few questions on the insulation. Usually insulation isn't a huge item in the budget. It's one of the cheaper subcontractors out there, but I know there's a bunch of glass walls on that building and they're taking care of it with that one corner addition. I think you're taking out some glass walls there, but you still have glass walls that don't have insulation too, right? Are those glass walls getting replaced?
All windows are gonna get replaced in the building.
get replaced with better windows, or are they
Yes.
gonna get walls there where those windows
Well, in
are?
some places there may be infill where a current window is, but any existing window that's to stay in its same location is going to be a new insulated unit. The other part of it currently built into the pricing, well, I'll probably double check with Kevin, but we had a steel window system in that is one of the things we backed out because we couldn't get good quotes. The reason for that is we do want some ballistic capability, especially in the public area and adjacent to the front desk teller window, if you will, but also where you go into the community room / training room. So we're hopefully going to be able to afford hollow metal as opposed to aluminum. A shot fired into ballistic glass is only good as the frame that backs it up. In terms of the insulation you were talking about, one of the big problems we have with the building are all these irregular openings that we can't even find all of them yet, but we know they're there. We can see vestiges. So we're looking at some systems where they literally would come in with seal the building off, if you will, and then pressurize the building, and it would blow a material throughout the entire interior and seal up any and all cracks, which would help to bring us up code compliant. It's not a high cost, but it helps to save labor. And that's one of the biggest issues we're facing with all these unknown infill insulation solutions. We'll be looking at that, probably polyisocyanurate, which is a rigid insulation. Maybe it's spray foam. So we're going to have irregularities. So it's hard for a sub to get a lot of production, as opposed to a new building where you just bang, you just go and put it up. I don't know if you have any other comments, Kevin, along those lines.
I would just tell you that when I did investigative demo and poked around, I found 3 different wall types in a 10-foot span. So it's a hodgepodge of things in that building, and until we get the existing drywall off and can open things up to understand how it was constructed and reconstructed and remodeled, we're taking our best conservative, educated guesses as to what we think we need to do. Even under the 2018 building codes, we still have to bring insulation. Again, not a big cost, but we still have to bring it up to code. And then to Ted's point, any new walls we touch on the exterior, we have to bring both sides, the interior and exterior of that wall, up to energy code.
Well, in 2006, since today, the energy code has increased drastically from that time period, so they didn't have some of those standards back then.
Yeah, I would tell you there's walls in the building right now where they just put loose bats up and didn't even staple them. So they have, gravity has pulled them halfway down the wall.
Well, I worked in that building in 2006, and there's old garage walls that are still above the drop ceiling.
Yeah, and then infilled with OSB inside a masonry wall, yeah.
And that's part of our challenge. Many of those are load bearing, so we're sort of have to honor that wall. And now that means insulation comes to the inside. We started looking about going to the outside, but that will be a Pandora's box scenario. Then where do you stop? And by code, anywhere you intervene on a given wall, if you open it up and create a cavity, now that cavity has to come up to code, which by code, those of you that may not be familiar, the new code says you have to have a value of R12.5 up to R13.2 of insulation continuously so that there is no breach in the wall. So like your stud framing, for example, creates a bridging element that transfers energy, so they want you to insulate on the outside of it to prevent that being transmitted through. So we've talked about, do we go to lumber? It's like, well, if the lumber comes out of Canada, get ready for that tariff. If it's metal studs, we don't know yet what's going to happen to that, so our framing is part of it. So our strategy is to very selectively go through the building and document each area and make sure that, believe me, WE&E is going to be holding we as the designers to a higher level of detailing so that the subs give us quotes, that they don't come back later finding a lot of things where we didn't know that was there. And now we've got this cost and it's late in the game, and now the material and getting it here on site. So yes, we've got some safety factor in here, but our goal is to give you a number that we can land on now and say, we're gonna hit that number. Now, if tariffs do get out of control, then this whole tariff contingency is in there, but is it enough? And could that come back to have to be adjusted? And I've been setting it on webinars recently. There are legal law counseling on how do you cover for tariff contingency and writing it into all of your contracts with your subs.
Well, and I understand the complexities of a job like this, when you open up walls and see something totally different, then the price changes. So that's, it would be safe to assume that some of these bids could be come in after a certain amount of demo is done and the complexity is uncovered, so that a sub has a straightforward knowing what they're getting into,
Yeah.
versus so that they don't come back with a bunch of extra, change orders, right?
Yeah, we had put together a number to do what we were calling selective architectural demo. Open the window, open up the walls, pull up the carpet, drop the ceiling, let's see what's there. I don't know what, we keep talking about the walls, I don't even know what the floor system is. I know this was a service center at some point in time. It's carpeted over right now. Until we get that up, we're assuming that we don't have, an old grease pit or something. I honestly don't know at this point. So we did have a cost put together to do that early selective demo that would allow Ted and Dan to put eyes on the dissimilar building types so that we can incorporate it into the drawings so that the drywaller doesn't come back and say, I didn't know.
Well, because I would highly recommend that, because once you get into the change orders, then you have to make sure that that change order is being charged appropriately. And whoever's managing that construction project has to hold them, against the wall and say, you're charging a little too much for this, whatever. But the more straightforward, less change orders, much better project, more in cost.
I can't agree more. I've been a PM, I've been a superintendent, and it drives me batty. Just like my kids, I didn't know. Told you 3 times that it's on drawings. So,
Well, that's,
no.
you cover it with documentation as much as possible.
Yes.
Yep, no, I fully agree with you. I don't want to play the change order game. It's a waste of everyone's time.
Another big cost, and we're certainly burning the candle here, was our electrical service, a 50% increase in the actual amperage and service to the building. That was a big cost. We backed out any electronic related door devices to just the perimeter, as opposed to any controls inside where you would open or allow passage by someone, allowing you through now to be just standard key doors. We're looking at leaving ceilings out and exposing ductwork. So we're saying, well, they do it everywhere these days, right? So rather than go into the cost of trying to create this nice, finished ceiling, nothing wrong with seeing exposed ductwork and electrical conduit. So we backed out that sort of cost.
The solar panels are required by energy code, or?
Pretty much, this is one of those things that DOLA says that, we're gonna hand you money for your project. If nothing else, we wanna see photovoltaic on your building.
Then one last question to Chief maybe, but this is construction we're talking about, construction costs. You're gonna obviously need more equipment for all these additional rooms you're adding. So there's gonna be, over the coming years, you're gonna be probably asking us in the budget to get certain things to run a better police force out of this new facility, I'm sure.
Potentially, I mean, a lot of it, the FF&E budget has been, actually, you just took it out of this, and I've talked to Andy about that. And we'll likely just build that into the 2026 budget for the PD, so that's just gonna be to, we can move some of the things that we have over there, but some of it's kind of falling apart too. But you're right, yeah, there would be some.
We have a state of the art facility, and then you don't have all the things you need to do your job at the utmost,
Sure, but that's, let's start with this.
Yeah.
Then I come back and ask later.
Scott, anything further?
No,
I would just say, thank you for everybody's input. And, I, am actually for option 3, for the reasons that, Jeremy pointed out as far as, the future, of this entire county. And, like Lisa, has discussed, I am also very concerned about finding additional money, particularly if we don't get this supplemental. However, I am confident that we can still fund option 3 into 2026. As you probably already know, some of this is going into 26. So I think we can still do this, and I would just rather have our department have what it needs for the future, and not incurring not only probably more excessive costs in the future, but also remobilizing, and as was pointed out, maybe some additional costs, like making a wall that normally would have been an interior wall now has to be an exterior wall. So instead of two-stepping kind of a thing. So just for those reasons, I'm for option 3, but I really appreciate everybody's input and the work that's been done up to now.
Are you looking for direction from like?
I am. I just wanted to give my 2 cents, and as to why I wanted to go around the room and hear your thoughts on this.
So I'm for option 3 also, and I appreciate the fact that they're trying to cut where they can, which makes sense. Also, the part I talked about, trying to get these numbers nailed down without change orders, is at the top of the list.
And Janine, your thoughts?
Yeah, option 3, if we can find the money.
All right, Lisa?
Normally I would say, gosh, we're such a small department, do we need all those things? But I think with the concern about the county and the fact that we do so much on I-70, this is a bare minimum. Like I was looking at the temporary holding going, is that big enough?
Yeah.
Seriously, like, is that like 2 people, or do you need, it's not big enough?
Well, no, it should just be one person. It would have to be a weird day to have it be multiple people, but
Okay, no, so that's good to know, that really you only need like temporary holding. You usually have 1 occupant a day. I'm also for option 3, but I'm with Scott. Can we please have the walls and everything open so there's not a rash of change orders? As disappointment and dismay gets up of the subcontractors.
they have that prepared, so that's gonna happen. That process can start right away.
Yeah.
We just need to work with Andy on that.
Hey, Jeremy, your thoughts on the options?
I think option 3 or option C is the direction we need to go until we hit a wall and prove we can't go that way.
Okay.
All right, I think we have the direction Guy?
I just have one question, sorry. When are you gonna start looking at the floor? Because that's a heck of a good point.
We do have a selected demo pricing packet put together, so I'll work with the other guy in my office, Lance, to get that in front of you, Andy. Probably by Wednesday. Lance getting back from vacation tomorrow, so we'll poke him with a stick around lunchtime. But then we'll need to coordinate with our demo contractor, but probably be able to get him on site in, I'll say 3 weeks, if not sooner.
Does that have the potential to really change this?
If we unearth something that is just a traumatic, unforeseen condition, yeah.
I mean, who knows if there is still an old hole from where the lifts were in there?
I was just guessing there would be.
Yeah, I mean, what did they do with it, and we do know the slabs are regular. There's a corner that slopes off about 2 or 3 inches toward the northeast that we have to tear out and fill or come up with. And then, how do we make the slab compliant with whatever finishes we're gonna put down? So there could be some sandblasting on the floor or just tear it out. So these are things we've tried to build some cost in now that we've dug deeper into it.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming in and sharing with us all the details. We will move to our next item. And Sadie, thank you for your patience. But please come up. We would like to hear about the Minor Street Marketplace activation.
I'm wondering, Mayor and Council, if based off of time, we might want to bump that one, because that one's not as time sensitive,
Okay.
and talk about parking.
All right.
But that's up to you guys. I can make Minor Street quick
You know what?
since
I
it's
think-
pretty similar in all years in the past, but it's up to you
It
guys.
is, it is, and I would agree with you, the parking plan is always something that is controversial, people wanna relitigate every couple of years, and, you know, we've been through this a number of times. But I wanna thank you, for getting the input that you did. And, I would just point out that the suggestions are suggestions, and it wasn't necessarily a majority, sometimes it was just a thought from a person or two. But, you know, you brought it to our attention, and, I'm of the belief we can probably implement 70% of what was suggested, so, anyways, take it away, please.
So if we have some extra time, I'll go over Minor, but I want to make sure we talk about parking. So I brought Steve. So Steve's the chair of the Business and Community Promotion Board, and, you know, we reached out to all the business owners and got a survey as well as many other things, and parking became again a hot topic and has been. While part of my job is to make sure you guys are understanding the full representation of what the businesses are saying, as Mayor pointed out, these are suggestions, and the board itself is not recommending that we implement all of these suggestions. We think that there's some low-hanging fruit that we might be able to implement sooner. While we as the business community understand that we're revamping parking either way as of May 1st, because we're going through an RFP, we're gonna be changing the parking. Whether we change companies or not is yet to be seen. It will have a new contract, so we will be changing May 1st. However, we're thinking that it might be beneficial if we make some small, low-hanging fruit changes as soon as possible to change the tone more than anything else. We've kind of tipped a little bit in the tone of our business community around parking. It used to be that we had pretty high support from the businesses, especially within the downtown district, of paid parking, of why we have paid parking, to how it's beneficial overall. That has now definitely tipped to not being the majority anymore. It's still almost balancing out, but we do have a large growing, it's no longer a small vocal minority, it's now a larger group of businesses that are pretty concerned about it in general. And so we kind of got together as a board to try to decide where the low-hanging fruit options were. We also spoke briefly with Interstate to see if they had any creative ideas of something we could implement right away that might change kind of the perception and the tone, especially as we want to ensure that the business owners from the majority do know that the parking revenue is how we're probably going to need to pay for a parking structure. So they don't want to mess with the revenue stream in any way that's going to cause any damage to the viability of that project. That is still fully supported.
One thing that's pretty obvious is that the tone changes with the business climate. And as things this winter kind of tapered down a little bit, wasn't as high, that people are looking for points to blame, if you want to say, why business might be what it is. But I will say we do get complaints about paid parking, but that's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not just here.
And so we kind of started to think about creative ways, and while the report you have in front of you has some suggestions that we agree that maybe would be a May 1st, as we look at the new contract, we did come up with some things that might be beneficial to start right away with Interstate, and Interstate is willing to implement these changes for a couple of reasons. VCamp is opening up April 1st, so we'll see a significant increase in traffic, as well as spring is starting. We always see some increase in our traffic. And third, we've had some news media recently that had I don't know, it just had positive and a bite of the back of having to mention something, and I was like, why did that happen? Anyway, can't control what reporters report on. Interstate is suggesting something that Breckenridge does, which is really unique that I didn't know. They offer first 30 minutes at 50 cents. And they say parking starting at 50 cents. And that's what every single parking thing, little app says, parking starts at 50 cents. Then they offer the first hour and then a 2-hour discount. So that would give us that first, and it wouldn't mess with our revenue stream. It would leave things the same. That first hour rate would be at like a $2.75 rate. If they bought by the hour, they'd end up paying more than the $5 an hour of revenue that we need to have. Then we offer discount at 2 hours for $5, and then they believe they're getting a discount. But if you're offering that first hour at a rate that's $2.75, that if they were to buy it up, they'll do the math and they'll do the 2 hours for $5. But if they think they're getting a deal, that changes their tone.
Because part of the problem, last time we did the first half hour free, people didn't realize they still, even though they're there for half an hour, weren't registering, they were getting a ticket.
Yeah.
So
this
this
way,
way, yeah,
this
our
is pretty
violations were, they were up and that's why we got rid of it.
And so this gives that, the loud majority of the complaints that we heard through the survey and through the things was, I have to pay for 2 hours if I just want to run into Coffee Cup to grab a cup of coffee. I have to pay for 2 hours if I want to just grab to-go food. I have to buy for 2 hours if I'm only going in for a 30-minute acupuncture appointment. These kind of things were starting to become louder and louder from our businesses, saying that the 2-hour minimum was creating damage to their business. And then Interstate is suggesting that we reduce enforcement for a while to 40%. Cut it by 40%, cut down the enforcement, suggesting not really super enforcing on minor, that focusing on the enforcement in the back lots, installing the flags that the board agreed to in the back lots, but not really doing a ton of heavy duty enforcement on minor. Most of the complaints and people getting really irritated tend to be on minor. We only have a couple of months before we're closing minor anyway. This might just be a way to kind of change the tone in the slow season. And if we can show the business community that we're willing to be dynamic and make some of these changes, I do think it will change the tone of the business owners as we look at changing the parking program in general May 1st for a long-term change. And then I think they'll be quiet with the sense that we'll say what we're going to change it to, let's leave it, let's let it be. So those are kind of some of the things that we really think when we're talking about moving into the new parking company, the businesses would like to figure out a way that validation could be a thing. Even if it means that the businesses are fronting that cost of validation, they want to figure out whatever the next parking company is, the business community wants to figure out a way to validate parking. It's a louder and louder and louder request. There's also different ways to look at figuring out if we could give the businesses something that says you're a pissed off customer because you got a parking ticket, give me your parking ticket, I'll give you this. And then there's a pathway through me or through wherever to avoid those tickets so that businesses have the power to dispel an angry person and encourage them to come back. Because again, we have heard a significant increase of, I got a parking ticket, I'm never coming back to this town. And as Steve says, when the businesses, especially right now, are fighting for every customer that's coming in, hearing that is just, it's causing a lot of ripples in their experience.
I think all of these are great suggestions.
Yeah.
I think probably every member of council has concerns about the level of violations that we have. And I don't think any of us want people to leave angry. We want them to have a great time and come back, bring friends.
Yeah. So I think the board is requesting that maybe we could have a meeting with staff and parking to kind of implement one more little tiny change before the spring, summer season hits, especially before V Camp opens.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we definitely want to participate as we look forward to the long-term new parking contract as of May 1st. But I do think the tone is really uncomfortable right now. And if we don't make some small changes, I just don't think that that's going to go over super well.
Feel heard.
Yeah, they won't feel heard.
I love the half hour deal.
The 50-cent
because-
thing, yeah.
Because there's a lot of businesses probably that don't require very much time. You park and you gotta pay 2 hours. That doesn't make much sense.
Well, and most people will want to do the hour.
But are the complaints that they're hearing, are they from residents? Because I consistently see a lot of residents complaining and I'm like, residents don't pay to park. Like
I know.
I do, like, bless your heart, because you took that mantle on recently, but I was like, county residents, city residents, you do not pay to park. 3 hours, like, let's increase the county residents to 4 hours or 5 hours, it's fine. But you don't pay to park, your friends don't have to pay to park, like,
The majority are actually visitors that are
okay,
complaining.
that's what I need, like,
But
that's
I
what I.
think on that point, there are people that don't understand it, they
That's
don't
true.
care to understand it. And they just say, I won't come to Idaho Springs because of it. I think we should do a little marketing once we do some of these changes. Saying it's not our view, explain to them, get it countywide, you don't have to pay.
Well, and that's
If you're a
part of
county-
my thought as well, is that if we do this low hanging fruit, we could do a little initial marketing campaign push that hopefully could reshape parking in a new light, also reinforcing the importance of that this funding, all the parking funding, is going to build a parking structure to improve our infrastructure here in the city, and I think that's
And
something
in the
huge.
part of that marketing, you should put, these are why we're doing this parking program in the first place. We have people that come and park their car and
Right
leave it
there.
all day long. It hurts our businesses. And, this is the only choice we have. We have.
Well,
to-
and Interstate has provided us some excellent data, which I've been using now, which is great. And Mayor, thank you for asking me to look at it. Year over year since instituting paid parking, does not matter if it's low season or peak season, we have seen an increase in our car count year over year, month over month. We are not seeing any months where our car count is dipping. We are seeing continued months. Now, does that equate always to sales tax? Not always. However, we can combat that fact that paid parking has driven customers out of Idaho Springs. We can combat that with factual data that Interstate has provided for us, that year over year car count we're increasing, which is why we instituted it in the first place.
And we know that it promotes turnover.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't remember this, but we would have people do like a meetup.org and they would leave their car in front of your business all day long while they went hiking, grazing Tories with friends and stuff, So also, I appreciate you mentioning businesses, Scott, but also for residents here. It was a real pain when we didn't have a managed program, especially if you're in close proximity to downtown, you'd come home with groceries or whatever, and there'd be cars with out-of-state plates in front of your home. You got to park on the
all
block.
day.
I lived on Wall Street and I had people that would park, and I'd be like, what, you're blocking my driveway, my
Yeah.
tiny, I mean,
We do recommend that when we look at the new paid parking program in May, that we're looking at reevaluating where is residential and where is not. I do think re-looking at that, we might actually discover we have some more spaces that are being underutilized. Again, thanks to Interstate, we actually have really clear parking data of where people are parking and where they are not, where the violations are occurring in resident-only spaces.
Yeah.
That might be, there are areas that are designated residential that might not need to be designated residential.
I like your suggestion. I have been writing this hobby horse for years about turning the parking management into an Idaho Springs parking management rather than contracting with someone again. I think bringing it in-house makes it better. I also, I like the idea of the 30-minute free parking. I don't know how to help, like, I think the signage is gonna have to be huge, because I think our signage is pretty big. Like, I see our signage everywhere, I don't know how.
A lot of
are
people
missing
think
it.
it just needs to be lower, but then we're thinking about tall people walking. So there's like this weird balance, but what I
Do
do
you think
think
the
is,
flags would make a big difference?
as long as they're not on minor.
To go back, that's where you need as much communication as possible, and you'll increase people who pay back there and those tickets. On Main Street, you get out, the buildings are right there, people are looking around, taking pictures, they don't actually see the signs, they don't even know it's paid parking.
So I think that's where we're really encouraging our businesses to help on minor, to encourage why decreasing enforcement on minor, to help the businesses be like, hey, I mean, almost everybody that I see that parks like right in front of my couple shops, I always try to say, if I'm not busy, hey guys, just so you know, it's paid parking. I have the paid parking things posted in my window, it's posted at my register, it's all these kind of things to make sure they know. But to clarify, we're not recommending free, the board is not recommending free 30-minute parking
Try
because
that.
it will mess with revenue. We are recommending 50 cents.
Yeah.
Well, that's right,
So-
I like the 50 cents. I like the idea One second, then I'm done.
Okay.
I like the idea of what Breckenridge does.
Yes.
I actually think, and because that's a proven system,
Yep.
we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And they say it works amazingly for them.
And Breck has a lot of turnover. I'm gonna tell you something that I have heard, because I've been talking to business owners lately. If we're not gonna enforce parking, like we're not gonna be as stringent on minor, then the business owners who habitually park on minor actually need to move their vehicles. I mean, I have heard that complaint a lot in the last month.
Yeah, and I think that with some revamp to the parking program, I think we can revitalize everybody to be better and as businesses, being better ambassadors of the program that is building us a future that's going to help us grow. And that's kind of the tone when I'm speaking to them. If our business owners can speak more kindly of paid parking, I think that's going to help a lot. Because right now, it used to be a small minority speaking against it. It has risen to not a minority anymore. And that's really changing the tone in town in a lot of ways. So I agree, by revamping some small things, we can really change that tone.
Well, I think it pains most of us to think Idaho Springs and these parking violations, that people go away mad, say they're not coming back, that just tears me up.
Yeah.
You know, I think most of these people wanna be heard,
Exactly.
so maybe an idea, it's just off the wall, but if you tell them, they give you a reason why they feel this happened and what the mistake was, give them a 10% off their violation, they're being heard.
Yeah.
If they give you that explanation, we'll give you 10% off. I don't know, that's kind of a off the wall
What's
idea.
beautiful right now is that every business owner pretty much knows this now, and I think if they don't, they will soon. But Interstate right now, if they get an email from someone, the email is kind, the email is clear, the email is saying, I didn't see the sign, I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. They're voiding the parking tickets as it is right now. I also, at this point, anytime anybody gets a parking ticket who's within the community or an employee or whatever, those parking tickets go through me. John Kane used to handle it. Now I just do it, and I go to Interstate and they void all of those. So we
See,
do have
that's
a
really good.
system to make sure that,
That's good PR.
yeah, and I post that on the
And then,
page. Tell me, I will try.
So I have also heard, and you guys have picked this up as well, there needs to be parking all through town. I've heard a lot of discussion about how the historic district is bearing the brunt of the parking pluses and minuses.
Yes, there's definitely a large support for a citywide parking program. We've had several meetings about East End parking, and the businesses, based off of the survey, are in full support of an East End paid parking program with strong validation, to offer a strong validation program that would be. Most East End businesses realize that that might need to wait until we renegotiate our parking contracts. So that is also a huge
That's another thing
consistent,
that I have heard regularly as well.
yeah, I agree with that. So those are kind of where we're at with that. If council is comfortable, I would like to initiate a meeting with staff so we can make some of these low hanging fruit changes as soon as possible. It doesn't mess with the revenue number metric that we need.
I would support that, but I would like there to be some publicity about it, some sharing about it.
Got it.
Like even if we have to overshare, because I cannot believe, when did we start parking? 2016?
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2019.
5 years ago.
Yeah,
So in 5 years, there are still people that do not get that if you live here and you register your car, you don't have to pay for parking. Like, I feel like we really have to go overboard on our publicity on this one.
Sadie just had a pretty good sized business owner in the county that she had to inform. And it was, oh, somehow I missed that.
I was like, I'm glad that we know now.
so the validation thing, how would that work? How are you?
Well, that will be definitely something Andy and I and Guy are gonna be looking when we're looking at these RFPs, is really making sure that they have the technology available. I think most businesses would be satisfied if they could validate third hour or even second hour, because right now we're doing this 2-hour pay upfront situation. It puts validation in a really challenging thing. If we change the way the rates are structured a little bit, we should be able to implement that and Interstate feels confident. I mean, again, I haven't spoken to anybody else that's bid on this, Interstate feels very confident in being able to change their inner workings, that we could validate a second hour and or third hour within the program.
That does seem like that would hit into the revenue of the parking bill, right?
The businesses would pay that,
Not necessarily.
The businesses would pay it?
yes.
And do you have like a 75% support on that one?
I do have a 75% support on that, especially with the East End, making that kind of, again, you don't have to participate in the validation program if you don't want to participate in the validation program. That's on you as a business. Steve's been doing validation at Tommy Knockers through discounts. I do the same thing at Spice and Tea through discounts. So again, that's a participation thing, as well as depending on how we work the numbers through the spreadsheet and all of that, that $5 average ticket is what we need to maintain the revenue stream. It could be something where we look at maybe a third hour free kind of a program, especially maybe in this, that businesses could offer while we're in this impact season with I-70 construction. That might be good faith and it wouldn't affect our revenue numbers. However, those things kind of, I think, should be tabled till we revise the parking contract.
And this thing on the east end, once it gets in depth about how that's gonna be handled, there's some more complexities, I think, on the east end that you're
There
gonna be
is.
running into.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun, complex
So I
meeting.
don't know if Marion's owns the property or.
No,
They don't.
So that's a big thing
Well,
right there, or-
my proposal was whoever has historically had the parking, Marion's is a really good example, Scott. That they keep those spaces, smoking yards, liquor store, that have
That would be
historically
business.
had them.
Business parking.
So we're not hurting those businesses. But there's another 90-some spaces down Colorado Boulevard that
Yeah.
largely went
Right.
completely unused.
Yeah.
That, you want half-price parking, you can get half-price parking. But stop in one of those businesses and buy something, have them validate, And also, one other little qualifier too is, we weren't just picking on downtown. We knew years ago downtown needed a parking structure. The East End does not need a parking structure. However, one thing the East End could really use, in my opinion, is a way to continue to fund the mountain bike park. I just don't know that it's sustainable for us to always count on grants and volunteers to do trail construction and maintenance. So, we could set aside a portion of the revenue, whatever it is, to maintain those trails. And always keep it interesting and give people a reason to come back and not have it just be run down, they're dirt, so they require pretty constant maintenance. Right now, we've been lucky with volunteers, we've been lucky with grants.
And I think we've proven that that's gonna bring people to town and that's not gonna change. That's-
Exactly,
In the
yeah.
future, that's not gonna drop off.
Well, and
Right.
we've also haven't even seen a full summer season yet
No.
of what this is, which is why I think the business community is pretty heavily in support of getting something instituted on that May 1st. That would encompass the East End, even if that means maybe East End has 2-hour free parking, then every third, the third hour is when it kicks in, or if it's something like that. There's been a lot of talk about what that program could look like, but developing that in this contract renewal is really important because we haven't even had a full summer season and we thought that the 2 months that we had that were peak were challenging for parking. Like it got named number
And
one
we've
trail
also
in the
had-
US.
Yeah, publicity out on it is only gonna increase the.
Well,
traffic.
and we've already Gary says that they're ticking to wait and they know that there's closures. They know there's gonna be construction closures and they're already we're getting pretty regular trickles of rule breakers as it is, already, who can't wait. So, I think it would be really wise for us to have at least some kind of management program down there before we have the summer season, because otherwise we're gonna be in a big old mess.
Okay, so next step, want to talk to our staff about implementing some of these changes.
Sure. Wonderful.
And I just want to go around, make sure everybody's all right with that. Lisa, I think you said you were.
I am.
And Janine?
Yeah, and I've used the 50-cent parking and Breckenridge
Oh,
quite a bit when I like go there
Okay.
for work still, and it does make a big difference. I think that model works well.
it's good to know, and let me ask you, it also, I would think it'd be easier since you're already registered to pay the 50 cents. If something caught your eye and maybe you wanted to stay an extra hour,
Yeah,
that
you just
you're
like
already,
use the
right?
app and you extend it, but it's great for just like getting a coffee or picking up my contacts, cause my eye doctor's there. Versus like there is free parking Breck, but it's like several blocks over, so once I found out it was 50 cents, I was like, oh.
That's good to know.
Oh.
All right. Scott, you're all right with?
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things I mentioned was the disgruntled customer. I think the people that are mad were just totally misunderstood. They weren't intentionally not paying for parking. They were innocently doing something and they got caught by a $50 ticket. That pisses them off.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want.
Jeremy, your thoughts?
Yeah, it makes sense, it's 30, for anybody who's not gonna use the kiosk, it's 30 minutes appropriate, or should we like an hour for $1?
I think
Because
the 30 minutes is pretty appropriate.
Takes care of a lot of different.
I'm just asking,
type
but
of
correction's a
clientele.
little different. That means Breck also figures.
Yeah, I think 30 minutes for that rate really then encourages people to go to that hour. 30 minutes is like, oh, I just need to run a quick errand. Oh, then I see my friend, or then I see this and I want to go do this. It's a friendly way of encouraging them to buy that hour. Again, we're asking people when they visit us to immediately spend money the second that they get into our parking lots. So if we're softening it by saying, hey, we only have to spend 50 cents, then they're softened to spend more and they're not even gonna balk at the additional couple of dollars. Whereas when they see that $5, right, when they pull into the parking lot, they're like, what's here that's worth $5?
The younger generation with the technology they have on their phone, if they pay for 30 minutes and they see that they're gonna be an hour, they can add the
Right
hour,
away.
right?
Yep.
Right away.
Right away, yeah.
So if they think, oh, I'm gonna be done in 30 minutes and then it takes longer. Or just pop, yeah,
Yep, it's the exact same technology that Breckenridge has. That's why they suggested it. It's literally a button that they can push that puts that as an active technology here.
All right, do we need anything further, Andy?
So, did I hear you say that Interstate could implement that change anytime?
Anytime,
Okay.
immediately if we wanted them to.
So unless there's any concern about it, I'm not hearing any concern, only positive. I'm wondering if we should just go ahead and get direction from council on that particular change and get it implemented as soon as possible.
All right, would you be all right with that?
And that's the 50 cents for 30 minutes.
50 cents for 30 minutes, $2.75 for your first hour, offering the $5 for a 2-hour discount, and then every hour after the first hour is $2.50.
I mean, if it hurts us, we can always change it.
But this is just a simple button upgrade on the app.
It
I'm not
literally
for it.
is just a rate structure change that they don't have to do anything to do. None of our parking signs have parking rates on them. So we don't have to change any signage. It's an update to the kiosk, which is a simple programming change. And then an update to the Park IS website, which is very easy.
How soon are we getting the flags?
The flags should be in by the first part of April.
Okay.
Scott,
Oh,
would you
yes.
be all right with that?
no, absolutely.
Okay, Jeremy? Okay, Jane? All right, any further direction?
So as soon as it can be implemented?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, I'll send an email and just CC you guys. Jessica and they're kind of waiting for direction. I told them I was gonna let them
and
know
by the
that.
way, we can set aside a work session in the future to get into this more. I thought another great suggestion was at our 2 main exits to have, like lit up signage, that we have a paid parking program. Just, again, I realize some people, you could put up 40 signs and they wouldn't read any of them.
No matter what we do.
Right? But
You entered the zone.
Yeah,
Enter the
exactly.
zone.
Is our parking prices on the website? Do we advertise any of this on the website or other than the kiosk or on the app?
It's on the Park Idaho Springs website and it's on the kiosks. That's the only places that parking rates are currently posted because we have changed them so frequently. I think probably, just in an essence of time, so you guys get a break before you go to council, we can talk about Minor Street, just so you guys know, no major changes, I think mainly just getting going.
I would just like to bring up one thing.
Yes.
In years past, we have waived the $150 fee.
That would be nice to
Right,
know.
and that the feeling is, at least until this I-70 construction is over, that council continue to waive the $150 fee for the activation. Anyways, I just wanted to make council aware that was going to be
That was my
a
main
request
change ask,
for,
yeah.
for at least until this Floyd Hill construction. Now I understand we may be looking at 5 years instead of 4 more.
Yeah, well, let's not talk about that until.
Anyway, so,
We want to get through the blasting and
I
sealing.
just want to get rid of the blasting, that's all
Andy,
I
do we need
care about.
direction on that right now?
I think it'd be good if we could.
Yeah, if you guys are
Quick
comfortable, that
sense
would
of
be
council
helpful.
on
I'll
it.
do reverse order, Scott.
What, so explain this to me once more.
Yeah, so in the years past, well, we have always, we fill out encroachment agreements, which is how the businesses are legally allowed to encroach onto the street and build their outdoor activation areas.
Oh, okay.
That traditionally per city code has a fee of $150. Since we've been doing it, we have been waiving that fee from the city's perspective. Wonder brought it back up to me just to make sure we wanted to continue to go the waive route or get council's direction, so.
$150 fee for them to set up their patios. Yeah, I'm fine with that. The way that,
Jeremy?
yeah, definitely.
All right, Janine?
Yep.
Lisa?
Yes, although I do think we have to come back and talk about how they are activated, because I've heard some definite concerns about activation and how different businesses are activating, but waiting fee, absolutely.
All right, well then,
Well-
with myself, that's unanimous.
Okay, so I can just come back the next work session and bring, again, because we're still a few months out from Minor Street activation, I think everything else will proceed forward. And then,
I do have one, you should check with the Elks, because I know the Elks is doing Dynamite Days.
Yeah.
Or, Gold Rush, not Gold, I don't know what they're calling it.
Mhm.
Hard Rock Miner or something, where they'll be with the rock and I don't know when that is. I wanna say that's June. And then the Lit Fest, I think is gonna be first weekend in October.
All right, well,
you're on my list.
Sadie, thank you, in your report for the, marketplace activation.
Yeah, you can read it.
It's a great, preview of coming attractions.
Yes.
And it's all broken down, including, what we plan on spending.
Yep.
And thank you very much.
Yeah,
So, I'm sure everybody found that pretty interesting in our packets. Well, all right, then, if there's nothing further, it's 6:53, and we'll get rolling here at 7 o'clock, right on time for our regular meeting.
Yeah, that's.
Oh,
Apologize. I think you mentioned about
Oh, so, yeah, I mean, at least on my copy, I'm gonna amend, the agenda. Sure. Oh, hey, where did you get that?
It's in your pile, look in your pile.
Oh, my fresh pile.
Your fresh pile, it's down at the bottom. This is really good.
Lisa, looks like we're down.
Are we, did I read that wrong?
Yeah, see, 2024 over 2025. We're down, but just a.
For
Yeah,
month.
month over month, we're down overall.
Oh, yeah, month over month,
Year to
yes.
date, we're up.
But year to date, we're up.
All right. Well, I would like to thank everybody for coming to our March 10th City of Idaho Springs regular council session. And we'll call it to order 7:01. And I'd like to start off with roll call, please.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
Jim Clark. Kate Collier. Janine Mariani. Here. Lisa Manifold. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones. Mayor Kurt Carney.
Here.
Thank you.
All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We have an agenda before us tonight, and I would like to amend it, making a few additions. I would like to add the swearing in of Michael Huckle. Just after approval of the minutes. I would also like to postpone the public hearing that you will have under ordinance second reading. It's number 15B. And I would like to move this to March 24th of this year. We will still be able to do the annexing, but not the zoning, if that's clear. So we're gonna do 15A, but not 15B. And it's more informational, but I'm also going to have a letter of support under mayor. What's the ordinance number? Oh, 15B. And I'm sorry, it's under 15B on your sheet. Yeah, 15B is the one we're gonna postpone.
March 24th.
Yeah. And with those changes, do I have a motion for an amended agenda?
I will move to approve the agenda for March 10th, 2025 as amended.
Thank you, Lisa. And do I have a second? Second from Janine. All right, and I always ask this question. Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest?
Oh, can we have a, either a roll call or a voice vote on that? Please?
Oh, I am sorry. Thank you very much. All those in favor of the amended agenda, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, now, we will move to conflict of interest. Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest?
I have a conflict of interest on resolution number 10, since I own a property.
Yes, and that is on the Agati, change of ownership. Scott, you're going to be recusing yourself on that one. And on the bills, I have a conflict of interest, and this goes along with Western Skies. And this is because last year council approved the purchase of what would formerly the Sunshine Cafe property, and it encompassed a small property that I own along with the much larger property that Western Skies owned. And it's, another payment is this year, and I'm personally on there, so, I'm just going to have that where, I'm gonna move that we approve the bills, with the exception of the amount to me, and then, I will recuse myself, from the second vote, which will be, the payment to myself. And with that, I'm saying, no one else has a conflict of interest tonight. I would like to move to, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes on February 24th, 2025.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Scott. Any discussion of the minutes?
I think, I'm sorry, I think it was in there twice. Apologize. Were in there twice.
I actually have a very small and albeit humorous correction to the minutes. And I very well may have said this. But it's not Governor Neguse. It is Congressman Neguse.
Probably me.
And I didn't roll back the tape, I'm not sure, but I may have inadvertently prematurely promoted him. And for that, I apologize.
The rumors will start.
Yes, they will start undoubtedly. And is there any further discussion of the minutes? All right, then all those in favor, please raise your right hand to signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So thank you. I'd like to move on to a just a great thing to happen for our police department. We are at a full complement of officers, and you know, when I look at what Chief started with, it is just really amazing how far we've come. And I'm gonna turn it over to Chief and welcome Michael Huckle. Really like seeing you.
Yeah, so Michael is a full certified officer. So that's been good. So we get somebody that's already full certified, has a little bit of experience with another smaller agency, but really liked Idaho Springs and had tested with us before and ended up coming back and saying and applying. So we're excited to have him. And I was gonna see if Wonder, would you mind doing
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You send it here. I put it there so you can read along because it's really. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Michael Huckle,
I, Michael Huckle,
do solemnly declare and affirm
do solemnly declare and affirm
that I will support the laws and Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the laws and Constitution of the United States of America
and of the state of Colorado,
and of the state of Colorado,
the laws and ordinances of the city of Idaho Springs,
the laws and ordinances of the city of Idaho Springs,
and the rules and regulations of the Idaho Springs Police Department.
and the rules and regulations of the Idaho Springs Police Department.
I swear I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of Idaho Springs Police Officer to which I have been appointed.
I swear I will faithfully perform the duties of the police of the office of the Idaho Springs Police Officer to which I have been appointed.
Welcome. Congratulations.
And before we move on, if I could, introducing your family who's come to
Oh, yeah.
to the event.
Yes, no problem. So, gentleman with the phone still up, that is gonna be my father. That is gonna be my 5-year-old little boy, Jace. My mom sitting next to him, and then my wonderful girlfriend is gonna be the one in the brown jacket over there.
All right, welcome everyone. I'm glad you could make it.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
All right, I will move on to bills, and I would like to make a motion that we approve the bills to March 10, 2025, with the exception of the payment to myself. And do I have a second from Janine? And any discussion of the bills? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And, next up, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the bills to March tenth include the payment to Chuck Harmon.
Western Sky.
Western Sky.
Skies.
Thank you, Jeremy, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Scott. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we will move to public comment. Do we have anyone online or signed up for tonight? Oh, okay. All right, well, thank you. We will move to the marijuana licensing authority.
So should I leave?
Scott, I don't think.
If you all can hear me right now, I can't hear anyone. I don't know what's wrong. I can hear, but it's echoing.
Is it still?
Try it again now.
Okay.
Nick, can you hear us now without?
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Perfect.
Oh, good.
Perfect. It has the background blur filter.
Sorry for being difficult, everyone. You know I like to always come in person.
Nick, I can hear you, and we were at staff comments, and we heard from Wonder, and I just wanted to know if you had anything further to add.
Since I didn't hear what Wonder said, I'm gonna say probably not. I'm sure she did a fine job, other than the fact that this is just a kind of routine procedure under our code, and it's more of a clerical item, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we were saying that everything was in order, and I just wanted to give our legal a chance to respond, since she said she had worked with our legal team on this.
No, yeah, our office reviewed and didn't find any deficiencies in the application.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yep.
I will move on to hearing from the applicant. Applicant, if you wish, you may speak to council.
I have no desire to take up any time on what is a clerical matter, so if there isn't anybody that has any questions or needs a brief description of the transaction, which I'm more than happy to provide, I would see that time for the purposes of efficiency.
Well, if
Right.
if
I'd be happy.
Okay.
if council has questions, we're gonna swear you in. If council does not have any questions, then you'll be able to take your seat. Does council have any questions of the applicant? All right, well, thank you. I appreciate you bearing with us with our technical difficulties. They are very rare, but
Nick, can you hear us again or no? Nick, can you hear us again or no? Nick, can you hear us again or no?
Oh, 4 times.
it's like we're married.
I can hear you fine now.
Ah.
Oh.
All right. Well, since there were no further questions of staff or of the applicant, I will close the hearing.
Mayor,
at
did you do a
7:24.
public comment on the hearing?
I asked if we had any public comment, either in person or online, and we had none.
Okay, sorry, thanks.
And, council, we can discuss, any, concerns before we make a motion. Does council have anything they would like to discuss on this matter?
No.
All right,
Straightforward.
I would, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 10, series 2025, resolution approving applications for a change in controlling beneficial ownership of Agati Limited as chair, licensee of the retail marijuana store and cultivation facility located at 2818 and 2820 Carl Boulevard respectively.
Jeremy, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Janine. And any, further discussion? A roll call, please.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, for, hanging with us. I
Thank you
really,
very much. I'm glad I got resolved.
really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Have a
you.
Good night.
All right, next up is our finance officer. Is, she with us tonight?
Not tonight.
Okay, then we will move to resolution, starting with resolution number 11. And, do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 11, series 2025, a resolution adopting a strategic plan for the city of Idaho Springs, including vision, mission, values, and goals.
Thank you, Janine. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Lisa. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Next up, we are gonna be looking at, ordinance first reading, starting with ordinance number 8. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 8, series 2025, an ordinance amending subsection 5-11A of the Idaho Springs Municipal Code concerning variance board membership.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Janine, and, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. We will move to ordinance second reading. We only have one tonight. And this is ordinance number 4. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 4, series 2025, an ordinance annexing to the city of Idaho Springs a 1.99 acre parcel of city-owned land within the J.J. Elliott Placer, located in section 2, township 4 south, range 73 west of the 6th principal meridian in Crooked County, Colorado, known by address as 839 Colorado Highway 103.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Scott. And any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. As previously mentioned, we will be postponing the, public hearing on ordinance number 5 to March 24th here. And, next up, city attorney, Nick, did you have anything further to share with us tonight?
No, Mayor, nice to be able to hear everyone again.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
City Administrator, Andy, you have, 3 action items tonight. And, do I have a motion on the first one?
I'll move to approve a proposal from THK Associates, Inc. in the amount of $70,700 for the interim and final site layout plan for the improvements at Shelley Quinn Park.
Thank you, Janine. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Jeremy. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Next up is, one from, Randy Wheelock. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve proposal from Randy Wheelock, DBA RPW Management, in the estimated amount of $16,000 for project management and supervision related to the relocation of the stage at the Shelley Quinn.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Janine. And any discussion?
So this is just moving the stage, there's no other, nothing else involved in this.
Well, this is his oversight of all of the aspects of moving that stage.
From start to finish.
Yes.
Coordinating the subcontractors,
Right.
there'll be multiple subcontractors.
Right.
involved in it.
Any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Jenny Mariani,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. And lastly, we have one from ground engineering. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve a proposal from Ground Engineering in the estimated amount of $19,654 for materials testing services for the Highway 103 water line project.
Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Jeremy. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Jenny Mariani,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones. Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Before we move on, Andy, just wanted to check in and make sure you didn't have anything further.
I do have one item. I heard back from Todd Leopold, our regional manager with Department of Local Affairs, and about some dates for our next council retreat. His first choice would be Friday, April 18th. And I wanted to see if that works for council.
All right, we'll take a moment and let you compare calendars.
This would be during the day, typically like 9 to 3.
The 18th, I'm open.
I think it works for me too.
Good. Lisa?
I'm looking, hang on a second. I don't know if I've moved over to nights at that point.
Oh, I got you. That is a Friday. It works for me.
1 second.
What's the hours of that? That'll
It'd be
be,
roughly 9 to 3, is what we've done in the past, including lunch. And
did we set it up at Tommy Knockers again?
yes, I mean, typically we've been at Tommy Hawk. We've got that nice back room there, which works well.
Hang on 1 second. The 18th.
Yep.
That will not work for me. I will see if I can switch with somebody, but at this point, that will not work for me.
Okay. Do we want to line up a secondary date just in case?
Yes.
Or would we be able to hear back from you in a
Well,
day?
could he do, if he could do the 25th, I am open on the 25th.
Yeah, I'm not available on the 25th.
Crap.
Okay, the other dates he proposed. Let's see here.
May 9th?
I'm not available then, because I go every 2 weeks.
You know, you're really making me,
I know.
even more than me.
It's me or you. It's gonna be.
What about on the 16th?
I think our schedules
Are off.
conflict.
Well, I'm just on Braves that whole month, so I don't have Fridays.
So I'm available the 8th, the 2nd. You said the 16th?
Yeah, May 16th.
May 16th, I'm available, but I don't know if that's one of his dates.
Is that one of his dates, May 16th?
No, but, so April 18th was his first choice. The second choices would be May 2nd or May 9th.
May 2nd, I'm available.
May 9th, I am
See,
available.
we're off. Our schedules are exactly opposite.
We're both available on the 16th.
Of May.
Yeah. We ask him about May 16th.
Well, I just asked him to just give me several choices on Fridays. And we could look at another, isn't there another day of the week that would work for council? Another Friday.
Mondays are the only possibilities for me then,
Did you
Let's
say,
see, Monday.
did you say Monday?
Mondays. Every other Monday.
I'm looking. So like Monday the 20th? No, damn it, no. I'm not Mondays. Are you Friday the 25th?
May or what?
April.
Are you looking at Mondays now?
I was actually looking at Friday, I'm looking at my Fridays.
No, I'm working that.
Okay.
While we're comparing schedules, Jimmy is still out and, Kate Collier unfortunately is sick. Otherwise, you know, we would be asking them, but we'll reach out and, see if these dates will work for them. At least I guess there's a possibility that you may be able to switch April 18th. You look into it?
I can ask, but it's based on somebody else's schedule.
Gotcha, yeah.
So I'm gonna say I'm a 50% no.
Gotcha.
Mayor, you want me to just see if I can find a few other dates? that might be
Yeah,
possible?
yeah, that'd be
I know we
good.
got two councilors that aren't
What did you say,
here.
May?
Yeah.
April 18th was coming up pretty quickly, so I just wanted
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
I was just taking a
exactly.
chance that maybe we could find a time.
The May 2nd or the 16th.
I'm a bit, so Scott and I are both available May 16th, which is a Friday.
Okay,
That just pushes a little farther out, maybe he'll be available for that date. if
Yeah,
it doesn't
we did May last year.
Bother anybody else.
That should be fine.
everybody on the board, it works on the 16th.
I'm good, yeah. Janine says she's good.
Fingers crossed, man.
Okay, we'll give it a whirl.
All
I may
right.
send some emails
We're
out,
sitting next to
try
each
to
other.
nail this down, so. Thank you, Mayor, for indulging me there.
All right, well, thank you. Since we have most of us together, that could definitely save some time. We'll cross our fingers and see if Todd is available. And
Just want to clarify, so Mondays would be a second day of the week that might be possible.
well, I think there's a conflict on Mondays, right? Scott,
You have
with
this,
you and Lisa?
what does your Monday look like?
What date on a Monday?
Well, it's just, 'cause we were looking at Fridays, I asked him for dates on, on Fridays, but maybe I could ask him for Mondays.
Okay, would you wanna know if we're driving on our schedule?
I have until April 20th. And then I
Available
switch,
every Monday?
every Monday until April 20th.
Okay, so I work. I'm off the 24th of March. Wait, no, I won't be here the 24th of March, sorry.
What do you have in April on Monday?
That'd be the 7th.
And I have the 7th, but he's not available till the 18th.
Or the 21st.
I actually have the 20th, no, do I? No, I'm on, after the 20th, I'm on Mondays.
All right, well, I think the next action will be, we'll see if Todd has some
We'll keep working
additional
on it. Yep.
dates, so we'll work on that.
Pain.
Next up, Assistant City Administrator, we have one item that we're gonna talk about right now, and then under mayors and council, I've got one additional item that we'll discuss. That's Guy's letter of support for the county housing and a grant application. So first off, we've got one action item, and this is for janitorial services. And do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve an agreement for services between the city of Idaho Springs and the Key People LLC for the provision of city janitorial services. The total amount not to exceed $6,165 annually.
Thank you, Janine. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Second from Lisa. Any discussion?
Does that, dictate how many times a week or how many hours or?
Well, they broke down all of the job assignments, you know, what all that includes.
Okay.
And I believe frequency is that correct, you guys?
Once a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions?
And that's the same people that we have right now?
No.
This is new?
Yep, new company.
Okay.
They work throughout the Denver metro area. I called Parker and Lakewood, I believe, for references. That they work with them, they work in the police departments. And by far the most inexpensive.
So, if we're not happy, then we have a year contract though, is the only.
Well, but we have
There's
30
no-
days to, you know, cancel on.
Yeah, no, there's an out.
Okay, all right,
And we're attached to them through our basic services agreement.
okay.
All right. Any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lisa Manifold,
Yes.
Janine Mariani,
Yes.
Scott Pennell,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes. Dylan, little more extensive report than usual. Thank you very much. Lots of things going on. I just wanted to check in and make sure you didn't have anything further.
Nope, nothing, thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you very much for the additional information. We're actually up still about 2.5% for the year, although we're down about 2.6% for the month. And I wanted to see, did you have anything further for us tonight?
No, Mayor, no.
Okay, well, thank you. And I hope you had a great vacation too.
I did.
All right.
Thank you.
Chief, you're up next, and you don't have any requests for action, but I just wanted to make sure you didn't have anything further to share with us.
Nothing.
Okay, thanks. Paul, did you have anything further for us tonight?
I do not. I apologize for not having a staff report. I was out last week as well, and it just slipped my mind.
Paul, I hope you had a very restful and fun vacation as well. And Ed, thank you for your report, sir. And I thought it was particularly interesting that we're looking at PFAS, and at least right now, we don't think there's gonna be a problem.
It's, the state picked out 6 of them that they think are the worst.
Yeah,
And we sent that sample in, and combined with what the EPA did, we're still under detectable limits.
oh, well, that's great. That's really good. Anything further to share with us tonight?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. I do have one thing under mayor and council. At your seating station, we've got a local planning capacity grant, letter of support. That if you're okay with, I would like to sign and make it official that, you know, I just think a local planning grant could go a long ways with our housing authority. Be a really good idea. With that spiel, I want to make sure everybody's okay with this. Jeremy, you all right?
Very much so.
Janine?
Yes.
Scott?
Yep.
And Lisa?
Yes. How much, do they have a dollar amount on the planning grant?
That is a really good question. And I'm not sure I saw that anywhere in there. Guy, do you happen to know?
I think they're doing $25,000.
Okay.
And this is an interesting grant that it's gonna be used. How the authority would like to use it is to get a facilitator, recruit some expertise to help them do bylaws, charter, use this as kind of seed money to pay for staffing to get them up and running. Need search, everything like that.
The last time he said she thought it could cost between 50 and 75K, and there would be a match, so the money that allocated would be used as the match if we got this planning grant. I think she's just throwing out numbers there. I'm not sure that she knows yet.
All right.
One thing to add,
the county will be the agency that will
Oh,
be
yeah.
doing the application. And then they will be handling the money, for the authority. But since there's already an IGA in place, that's, we can fill that position.
Thank you, Guy. Anything further to share with us tonight?
No, thank you, sir.
All right. I do not do this very often. But I have a mayoral proclamation that I would like to make official. And Steve Enderhouse, who was here with us earlier, has really been a volunteer for everything that doesn't pay anything. You know, I mean, he really has been over backwards. And also, Tommy Knockers is going to be celebrating their 30th anniversary too. So if you would bear with me, this is Idaho Springs proclamation, Steve Enderhouse of Tommy Knockers Brewery and Pub celebrating its 30th anniversary. Whereas Steve Enderhouse is president and director of operations for Tommy Knockers Brewery and Pub. Whereas Tommy Knockers is celebrating its 30th anniversary as a primary community-focused business in the downtown historic district of Idaho Springs. Whereas Steve has always been the first to say yes when asked to sponsor, volunteer, lend a hand, and is an integral part of many projects that enrich our city. Steve's dedication knows no bounds, whether he's climbing ladders to help restore a mural, setting up tents for community events, or serving beer and fantastic food at our celebration. Whereas Steve is also a trusted collaborator and a listening ear for other local business owners, constantly fostering communication and strengthening our business community. Whereas Steve's kindness, enthusiasm, and can-do spirit are evident in everything he does. And we greatly appreciate his pivotal role as a business and a community leader. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Chuck Harmon, recognize Steve Enderhouse for his incredible contributions to our community and his unwavering support of Idaho Springs. I also congratulate Tommy Knockers Brewery and Pub on its 30th anniversary as a successful business in our historic downtown. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand on behalf of the city council and cause to be affixed the official seal of Idaho Springs, Colorado on this 10th day of March 2025. And I would just like, before I sign this, to ask council, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. It's official. I'll be signing. We will not be having another work session or regular meeting until our meeting on the 24th. And does anybody have anything further before we adjourn? Lisa, I'm sorry, did you
No, that was under mayor and council.
Oh, thank you.
That was an informational item there.
Okay, I didn't know if there was something that had to happen.
I did see that in the packet. Yeah.
CDOT just asked that we include that, make that available to
Oh,
elected officials.
Yeah, I think that should be in everybody's packet. But good catch, Lisa, because I just want to make sure there wasn't anything official we needed to do on that. All right, well, if there's nothing further, we will call it adjourned at 7:47. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, Nick. See you later.
See ya.